Thank you. 1 minute to go. Right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the ordinary meeting of the Douglas Shire Council being held on Tuesday, the 24th of November 2020 at the Mossman Council Chambers. I hereby give notice that in accordance with Section 277E of the Local Government Regulations 2012, that the ordinary meeting of Council will be closed to the public because of the health and safety reasons associated with public health emergency involving COVID-19. I would again wish to apologise for those who have been making contact with me as they've indicated they wish to attend in person, and give them the assurance that we are abiding by the Chief Health Officer's directive of the number of people in a space this size. We are leading by example. Once a directive is given, as it has been for other areas such as sports fields and theatres, etc., I for one look forward to seeing members of the public here at council meetings. I've also asked the CEO to consider alternative solutions for the next council meeting, as I'm very much aware that members of the public would like to attend. This ordinary meeting of council will be available to view via live stream on council's website and will be available to others to watch at a later time. I'd like to acknowledge the Gulgiyalanji people who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and I'd also like to pay respect to their elders, both past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to other Indigenous Australians who may be listening or watching our meeting this morning. I note that all councillors are present, and of course our CEO is here as well, and we do have the limited and the total amount of people in the room that we can have, and we also have our media present. Conflicts of interest, councillors.
Yes, thank you. I'll declare a prescribed conflict of interest for item 9.1, which is in the closed session, as I am a board member of one of the applicants. So I will leave the room during discussion and remove myself from any conversation and voting in the matter. Sufficient?
Thank you, Councillor Nolan.
Yep, and I have a conflict as well. I Councillor Peter McEwen, informed the meeting that I have a declarable conflict of interest, item 9.1, as a result of being on the board of one of their discussion matters. As a result, I would like to advise you I'll leave the meeting while this is being considered and voted on.
Thank you, Councillor McEwen. You're all good? So both councillors are going to choose to leave for that section, so we don't need a resolution on that, if I'm correct. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to 3.1, which is the mayor or minute. The mayor or minute is that the council congratulates the 13 council officers who are to be presented with recognition awards at this council meeting today, acknowledging their outstanding contribution in local government to their communities over the last 10 to 25 years of service at Douglas Shire Council. The Douglas Shire is blessed with not just a spectacular natural environment, but a very dedicated local government team committed to doing its best for our communities. This morning we'll be presenting 13 council officers with recognition certificates for achieving their milestones for 10 years, 15 years and 25 years of service to Douglas Shire Council and our communities. Totalling over 205 years of experience, these valued staff members have experienced so much in their careers, many enduring first amalgamation and then all experiencing de-amalgamation, and their knowledge and expertise has been invaluable. On behalf of Council, I would like to sincerely thank them all for their hard work and the commitment over the many years and express our gratitude for their valued input to all the facets of Council activities. Please join me in giving them a round of applause for their efforts. And I can assure everyone, since being in this office, they certainly do work. So I'm going to hand over to the CEO to call out the applicants, and they'll come in one by one into the room so we don't breach our numbers, and I'll present them with the certificate.
Excellent. So I'm going to go through a list. We do have some apologies, but I'm going to read all of the names for the record anyway. So the first person we have is the team leader of basically the community area and economic development. That's Lisa Golding, and she is an apology for today. The next person we have is the team leader of water quality, John Etheridge, and he is also an apology today. So that brings us to our first person who is here. By the way, those last two had 10 years of service. Our next and first person up here this morning is the senior records manager, and with 15 years of service, it is a privilege to welcome Krista Kenna up front.
Thank you.
Excellent. Now our next person, and I believe our last apology, is someone that everybody knows very well at 15 years of service as well, but the coordinator of our frontline services area, Rebecca Phillips. So we will make sure that she gets her certificate. Our next person, I can see in the back, ready to go, is one of our environmental health officers and at 15 years of service. It's a privilege to welcome Tim O'Brien up to the front. I feel like I'm doing an award show, like some kind of thing, like, you know, you're gonna bring people up to the front. Our next person, all staff members know this very dedicated team leader of human resources, Jackie Soltis, come on forward. Our next person, we're still at 15 years, is the store person and administration officer for the Mossman depot, but I think everybody knows she actually probably runs the whole depot. So Denise Asman, please come forward. This is very well coordinated with everyone getting ready to come forward. So thanks, Natalie, in the background for getting everyone organized. Our next person at 15 years who is the team leader for the public and natural areas and works in the nursery, Brett Kilpatrick, come on forward. It's still hard to remember after this many months not to just automatically shake hands, but we're trying to make sure we don't do that. Our next person is a plant operator in the water treatment plant, and it looks like he is an apology. So that's Jason Sorensen. Just want to mention his name for the record. We'll make sure that he gets his certificate. We're still on 15 years. Is Peter here? Okay, got an apology from water and wastewater. That's probably because they're doing a very important job of keeping the water going. So Peter White, we will make sure that he gets his certificate. And we've got Gabe Roberts here for 15 years as well, who also is in the wastewater area. And from the Daiwan Depot, we've got David Sear. And this is 25 years. And our last person with 25 years of service, Tom Donnelly, come on forward from the Mossman. And we do have one last person, slight late arrival, but that's okay. Very important role in the water area. Peter White, come on forward. 15 years. So congratulations to everybody. That's everybody for today. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Fantastic effort. I've just realised that we've just presented them without a motion to do so. So I've moved it, of course. If you don't need a seconder. If all councillors go, if no one's got any objections to it, now that we've done it, of course. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Very presumptuous of me that everyone would say yes to giving out certificates. Right, confirmation of the minutes of the council meeting held on Tuesday, 27th of October 2020. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor McEwen. Seconder. Councillor Scomerson. Any objections? Any comments regarding the minutes?
Has all business been attended to in the minutes, last minutes?
Sorry, Councillor.
Has all business been attended to from the last minutes?
Please. Believe so?
Yeah.
There's nothing else that was mentioned from it? There's nothing in the minutes to bring forward, no.
Okay.
All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, that takes us on to our agenda items. We have 5.1, which is the first one. Financial report for October 2020. So council notes the financial report for the period ended 31st of October 2020. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Thomason, seconded by Councillor Zamataro. Councillor Scomerson, would you like to speak to that at all?
Just another good report again. Thank you, very informative.
Anyone against the motion? Any further comments at all? No. Ms. Colleen, did you want to mention anything on this one? It's pretty straightforward.
It is pretty straightforward, and I guess it's looking backwards and then we're moving on to the revised budget, which is moving forward, so it's to a degree almost superseded. Probably the only items to note were the ferry had now fallen behind, as we predicted it would, from the original COVID budget because of lockdown and borders staying closed a bit longer. The interest fell further behind. They'll both be addressed in the revised budget. There was some timing of invoicing for revenue, and the van parks are doing well. So it's a little bit of a positive story there. A bit of timing differences for materials and services, and there were some permanent savings, which again have been factored into our revised budget, which I'll talk to soon. And some permanent savings in employee benefits, and a little bit of timing difference for depreciation. But they're just the highlights, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? That's carried. All right, 5.2, the revised budget 2021. The recommendation, of course, is the council resolves to adopt, pursuant to section 169(170) of the Local Government Regulations 2012, the revised budget for the financial year 2021 and the long-term financial forecast for the financial years 2021 to 29/30, as contained in the document titled 2021, revised annual budget and set out in the pages contained therein, which the list from 1 to 11. If I could have a mover, please. I'm happy to move that one. And a seconder, please. Councillor Scomerson. Congratulations, Ms. Colleen, on that report. It's an amazing effort. I mean, we've gone from adding quite a few things and we've actually reduced slightly, ever so slightly, the operating result, but still adding those extra things in. So it's an amazing effort by all the staff, and I congratulate everyone on the efforts that they've done. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Any other further comments from councillors there?
I've got a couple, just want some clarification.
Councillor Scomerson?
First one is just some clarification on contracted costs for the Daintree Ferry. And what extra costs are they?
Okay, so when we use a priority lane, we incur an additional cost for the additional labour involved with that. So, and also when we have natural disasters, we will incur an additional cost above the normal. And because of COVID and it's been very quiet, that lane hasn't been on.
Is that about 59,000 you're
No,
asking?
97.
Oh, sorry.
So if the priority lane hasn't been opened,
And we also haven't, it has a couple of times, but not the usual that we would have over the peak period. And also we haven't had any flooding or disasters so far where we've had to. So that's a saving that we've identified to date.
right, okay.
Compared to budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. The other thing is as well, employee benefits, new positions. I think with the situation we are in at the moment, we have positions within council, if I'm not correct, that are vacant.
No, I believe they've all been filled now.
They have,
I
okay.
believe so.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Would you like me to talk to those couple of positions and why they're there? Because I can give a bit of background on those if you like.
I think that the positions for the van park, that's, and then you've got the nursery technician and things like that. It's just that I think with, our budget at the moment and COVID, I think we need to be a little bit mindful of putting new positions on.
Yeah, we've been very cautious. Local laws, I think, have been absolutely swamped.
Yeah.
And which I know you guys have had a fair bit of contact from the public about issues in that area. And that is a junior Indigenous identified position. The other position, the admin for records, rates and governance, is about business continuity and looking to the future. The records position hasn't got any backup at all, so it's really quite dangerous because it's a very important area to have that knowledge. And additionally, governance and rates. We're looking at reviewing the rates model, and that may actually, however we go with that, may actually incur a little bit more administrative work too.
Thank you.
So that's what that is.
Thank you. Councillor Norley?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I suppose I'll start by saying, I suppose we've been fortunate this year in COVID in the sense that we started this current financial year the beneficiary, I suppose, of good work in the past. So that's really great. The first question I have relating to, and if you don't mind speaking through, Ms. Colleen, is about the capital works grants and subsidies. Because it's kind of done in a few different sections, I was just wondering, in total, how much is the total of our grants and subsidies that we've received so far? Could you? Okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So we've got I can't talk to what we've received to now, but
Okay, so what we've been promised, perhaps, that'd be the best way to say that.
Okay, yeah. So if you have a look at the summary in table 2,
Yeah, okay.
that's got our capital grants and subsidies on the capital revenue there, 17.6.
So that is the total, all right,
Yeah.
okay. And That would be more than what we normally get on a normal year, wouldn't it? This year, because of the COVID, we get money, given extra money given to us by state and federal governments.
I wouldn't say so necessarily. The years that
Okay.
we have disasters, we tend to get a lot more for, DRFA funding. So, that could vary quite a lot
Yeah.
given the season we're coming up against. But I know we had quite a lot from last year that sort of carried over into that. You can see on table 1, there's the DRFA asset restoration work that was done.
Mm.
And that was more than fully funded, and that's just the timing of when the funding hits.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it really does depend on what happens in that area.
Okay, thank you. Then on page 14, the materials and services, for page 14 of the agenda, there's a very $59,000. $59,000. What does that refer to? What expenses are there in that 59,000? Page 14 of the.
Sorry, I'm just trying to locate where we're looking.
Just in the
Oh,
adjustments.
the consulting and legal fees. So that's what we intend to incur, or what we predict will incur to do with the ferry consultation work.
Okay, thank you. Then the next question I have is, there are two expenses that relate to the golf club in this report. One is 8,000, one's 155. Are they because one's in the capital budget and one's in the operational budget?
Yeah, so
correct?
the 8,000 is just general maintenance and small repairs that wouldn't be capitalised.
Yeah.
And the other work is the initial work to get the golf club up to compliant.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question I have is just a bit of a question about our liquidity at the moment. How is it trending?
So, what's the notes? Look, there's a cash flow, a decrease of 5.6 million is predicted, and next year is looking like it's going to be quite a tough year. So we'll be looking, as it stands at the moment, the way the liquidity looks, we do have to hold 3 months' worth of operational income at all times, per the Queensland Treasury and QAO, and we're closely watching our recovery of rates and things like that to ensure that we don't impact that too much. As things look at the moment, it is going to be tight for next year, and if we want to do more than just renewals, we need to really source what additional grant funding, and we're working very hard to go out for any funds that we can, and I think we're also looking at other ways and means, other assets perhaps that we can look at for the future, what we want to do with and how we can raise additional funds for next year. So we're already sort of looking forward ahead for that, because it's probably an issue for most organisations, I think.
Thank you. And I suppose the last question is related to the ratios, and in particular the operating surplus ratio. Now the modelling shows that we've basically got 8 years, or on the 8th year we're going to return to that balanced budget. And just for the public, this ratio shows whether a council in general has the ability to cover its operating costs from operating revenues, correct? Yeah. So our model shows about 8 years before we hit that balanced budget there. What is the modelled revenue based on? Is it based on what we have in the past as a revenue plus extra grants and things like that, or?
We don't count any additional grants.
No.
We can't, until something's obviously in writing. So yes, it is very much modelled on the past, the revenue side of things.
And how do we get the extra revenue? What's that modelled on? Because each year it's increasing in the model.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we just have in our long-term model, we have a percentage increase for everything, for materials and services, for rates, for everything.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's the end of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Just shows why it's so important that we continue to grow the Shire, and rather than just putting rates up all the time, by increasing the rate base so that we've got more people paying to share the burden. Because it will be hard times ahead, but we've been very lucky with our grant writing. We've got fantastic grant writers here who've been quite successful in their grants, so it's good in that respect. With that, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried. 5.3, Capital Works Progress Report for the first quarter 2021. The recommendation is the Council receives and notes the progress of the Capital Works Program to 30 September 2020 for the 2021 financial year. If I could have a mover, please, for that one. Councillor Scomerson, seconded by Councillor McEwen got in there. Councillor Scomerson, would you like to speak to this?
No, I think it's good, thanks.
Anyone against the motion? Any further comments from councillors, please?
Just one question. On your attachment 2 carryover projects, just querying number 3, Mossman Showgrounds, disability access to toilets. Wages only capitalised to project manage. So is that happening or?
Sorry, councillor, I've forgotten my glasses. Sure it is. Thank you. Oh, that's even worse. I'm sorry, councillor, that's not a particular project that's run by the.
I'll actually ask Mr. Farrelly to come up and respond to that because
okay.
it's part of his.
Through the chair. Yes, the part of that project was that we got Commonwealth funding to build disability access toilets. And as part of that, our in-kind support is to provide the project management side of things to get that project going. We've submitted the plans. We're just waiting on the Show Society to give us a go-ahead on that, and then we'll kick that project off.
And they will be included in the new upgrade of the showgrounds?
Correct, yeah, it's all in the master plan.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No further comments. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried. 5.4, Contract 2021-036, Port Douglas Wastewater Treatment Plant UV disinfection system. The Council resolves to award contract number 2021-036, Port Douglas Wastewater Treatment Plant UV disinfection system to Liquidtech Proprietary Limited, ABN 540649608364 for $241,850 exclusive of GST. Delegates authority under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2009 to the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate, finalise and execute any and all matters in relation to this contract. I can have a mover, please. Councillor Nolly got in there, seconded by Councillor Scomerson. Councillor Nolly, would you like to speak to this?
No, thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Any further comments? That will put it to the vote then. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. 5.5, Contract 2021-008, Parks Renewal Program 2021 Playgrounds. The recommendation is the Council resolves to enter into a contract 2021-008 Park Renewals Program 2021 Playground Renewal with Big Splash Enterprises for the supply and installation of the new play equipment and rubber softball surfacing across 5 Douglas Shire Council parks to the value of $358,208.09 GST exclusive, and delegate authority under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2009 to the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate, finalise and execute any and all matters associated with the contracts. If I could have a mover for that, please. Councillor Zamataro, seconded by Councillor Scomerson. Councillor Zamataro, would you like to speak to it?
Oh, no, thanks, me. We've discussed this at length. We know exactly where we had in the
Anyone wish,
workshop this still extensively.
thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Any further comments from councillors?
Just one question.
Councillor Scomerson?
With your pricing, got there, with the option of various value adds.
Through the chair, when we went out to quote for this project, we did do a site tour with the 4 suppliers, and we asked if on site they had any unique ideas for those play spaces, if they wanted to present those as an option, so an option A or an option B. Yeah.
So it could cost us a bit more than.
Yeah. So when we're going through and evaluated these quotes, we just took the base quote without the value adds. Although in the evaluation of the quotes, we did consider the designs presented in the value add options.
And you're happy with those?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments? That's a great program. Looking forward to seeing some of that new equipment roll out. With that, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, guys. 5.6, contract W05243, Junction Creek Cycleway Bridge construction. The recommendation is that council resolves to enter into a contract W05243 Junction Creek Cycleway Bridge construction project with King Concreting Queensland Pty Limited, SIV form, ABN 70075411422, the value of $648,784 GST exclusive, and of course delegate authority under section 257 of the Local Government Act 2009 to the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate, finalise and execute all matters associated with this contract. If I could have a mover on that, please. Councillor Nolly, seconded by Councillor Scomerson. Councillor Nolly, would you like to speak to this?
No, I'll just make one comment, and that's the amount of times I've got my bike wheel caught in this bridge over the years as a kid. So, yeah, I'll be good.
Absolutely. Anyone wish to speak against? Any further comments from councillors? It's a fantastic project. Looking forward to it. With that, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to 5.7. Bridges Renewal Program, Round 5, Warners Bridge and Amex Bridge. Okay, our recommendation is the council accepts the funding offer of $500,000 GSC exclusive from the Australian Government's Bridges Renewal Program Round 5 for the Warners Bridge Replacement Project, commits the required 50% co-contribution of $500,000 GST exclusive in the 21-22 budget towards Warners Bridge Replacement Projects, accepts the funding offer of $440,000 GST exclusive from the Australian Government's Bridges Renewal Program Round 5 of Amex Bridge Replacement Project, commits the required 50% co-contribution of $440,000 GST exclusive in the 21-22 budget towards the Amex Bridge Replacement Project, and then delegates authority under section 257 of the Local Government Act 2009 to the Chief Executive Officer to determine and finalise any matters associated with the above matters. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Zamataro, seconded by Councillor McEwen. Councillor Zamataro, would you like to speak to?
Through you, Mayor. Look, they're both bridges that need drastic need of replacement. I just have a question for Mr. Matthews. I'm just wondering, both them bridges have railway lines on them. And is the plan to try and attempt to do them through the wet season so that crush, other than crushing, because the crushing season is when they're dry. So.
Through the mayor, we'll be working very closely at the mill to determine the most optimum time for the construction. We've engaged GHD to do the detailed design, and one of the key elements of that is working out the appropriate time frame for construction, and that will be in full consultation with the mill.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Any further comments from councillors? Wonderful. That's money being allocated in next year's budget, as we were talking before. Stuff that needs to get done. So we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. 8, a request for funding, Cape York Weekly. The recommendation is the council approves $10,000 GST exclusive from the People and Community Services operational budget towards supporting the Cape York Weekly to commence a community newspaper. Notes that council staff will develop KPIs for the allocated funding that will focus on strong support for advertising for not-for-profit and community groups in the Shire, and delegates authority under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2009 to the Chief Executive Officer to finalise any and all matters associated with the above. I'd like to have a move on that one, please. Councillor Scomerson, seconded. I'm happy to second that one. Councillor Scomerson, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions with this. I was a bit surprised that this has come through after our discussions last time. I think it's a great idea that we're getting the opportunities for a new newspaper in this shire, because it's been sorely missed, especially through the locals and the elderly, because that's the only source really of local news. Is this a one-off funding?
Sorry,
It is.
Shirley.
Because my question was, why do we have KPIs on one-off funding?
Through the chair, we decided to put a performance and resource agreement around this funding. Due to the seeding funding that we're providing, we need to get some KPIs and the reach, the distribution, and also the number of community groups it would give support during the advertising process. This is why we've put sort of an indication and recommendation around our performance and resource agreement.
So in other words, is this money that we are going to put forward to help community groups to do advertising in the paper?
Through the chair, so part of the commitment, I suppose, is that in return that they would support not-for-profit groups with free advertising and low-cost advertising. So it's a bit of an incentive, I suppose, for them to provide that service to community groups.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against this?
I'd like us.
Councillor Zampa?
Look, I'm as Councillor Nolly, I'm surprised that it's come this far. I didn't think it was, when we had discussions, there was discussions about council supporting. I didn't realise that there was any discussion about council actually financing, starting a small business. I don't think it's on the onus, it's on the ratepayers to be, financing someone to start a business. And if you read the letter that we got in our agenda, it's, the startup include a computer, a camera and software. I'd assume that anyone who has a paper already has a computer and camera and software that's needed to start to run a newspaper. He also goes on to say that even with Rio Tinto, who's, I have to say our gross assets total about $80 billion, a bit bigger budget than the Douglas Shire Council. They only committed to advertising, didn't put any money towards starting a paper. I don't see how this is onus. This onus is on the ratepayer to supply this business, to support this business. I understand supporting is the wrong word. I know we have to support the bids, and I agree it's a great idea to have a printed media in the Shire, but this could also be seen flagged as a conflict of interest with council financing a media outlet. I don't sort of want to be part of that, where we look like we're financing a media outlet, in favour. And this has been flagged to me already since the agenda became public. Been flagged to me by members of the public, and now is it, council supporting this to get favourable stories put in? It's not up to the ratepayer to pay for it. I don't agree with I agree with having a newspaper, great, but not council, not ratepayers' money. It's not up to the ratepayer to pay $10,000 to start a newspaper.
Councillor McEwen?
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that as well, because I thought the discussion that we had with the gentleman that day was to give support morally and to advertise. I understood that there was not going to be a request for funding to start the thing. I fully support it. It's going to be fantastic, and I'm sure council will support it, advertising out my business and other businesses will as well. But I was not aware of having to put some money up to get it started. I agree. I don't think it should be something that we just donate to a new business in town. And also the conflict of interest. People have brought that to my attention, that maybe we're going with our mates for the business. So, yeah, I'm not in favour of it, not with the information that we've been given so far.
True, man. I'd also like to add, I mean, council even committing to advertising the paper, that's a lot of money. You know, if you know, advertising in a newspaper, you know, anything between $500 and $1,000 to get a full-page ad. So that's a huge contribution. Council already committing to advertising.
Councillor Norton.
Thank you. I'm going to speak against this recommendation for a number of reasons, and I suppose they've already been summarised already. Firstly, at council, if we look at our, for example, our community grants program, I believe this were to be applied through that, the correct channel. Most likely, I'm guessing it would not be recommended or supported, as it would not appear to fit within the guidelines. The applicant's not from the Shire, and we have rejected projects in the past for not being Shire residents. The printing will not be done here, despite the fact that Shire does have small printing businesses. The primary objective is at making a profit, and that would make it ineligible under the guidelines. And then the grant guidelines also says that for council's grant funding, an applicant is ineligible if the core business is a political organisation. But then the recommendation in the body of the gender report then goes on to say that council staff will develop KPIs. Well, I just find it a little bit contradictory that a council can dictate what can and cannot be published in independent media from a local paper. Secondly, a business asks for $10,000 and we give it to them because why? It's the benefit of the Shire. But at this moment, I think we could have 100 businesses using the same argument. Where does this all start and stop? We just looked at the revised budget, and the modelling shows that we've got 8 years of a hard slog in front of us. There's no guarantee that this is not just money being thrown away. Having Rio Tinto back here in Riva is very different to here, where any hard-earned advertising space will be scarce. And I will also say in direct competition to existing media outlets, such as the radio and other online news outlets, where locals already are doing it hard. And my third and last argument relates to probity. And essentially what I would think should be a type of tender process. Should council decide to allocate any funds towards a media organisation? The tender process has been omitted, and in my opinion, I believe it's been error. So if council decides to support a media outlet, then I believe it must be done through a tender process. You can't go directly to one individual person, dictate a KPI for a proposed media outlet, and then hand over ratepayers' money. There has to be an open and transparent tender process first, so a type of procurement. I believe that councillors cannot support this recommendation. Having a printed media like my fellow councillors in the Shire is actually one thing I do support, but not through this process, through a public tender. Perhaps would be the one way of doing it, not just because one individual council approached one media journalist. So in the best interest of probity, I believe that we cannot be in favour of this recommendation today as it stands.
Thank you, Councillor Nolly. Couple of things there. Okay, so this report for me, I took as an out-of-round grant application pretty much, because that's what it is. This council has given businesses that make profit startup funds before in the past. And this to me, and if you did go through the business plan that was sent to councillors, which was confidential, of course, it did state what the breakdowns were of where the money was going to. As far as Councillor Zanatari mentioned something about the equipment, he has stated that he's going to continue operating the paper up there, so the equipment would be required up there. He needs to obviously purchase stuff for down here. It's going to be operated from in Douglas Shire. Now, the initial conversation, as Councillor Nolly brought it up, is I contacted this person, being the editor of the Cape Weekly, and I asked him what would be needed to get a paper back in Douglas Shire because it's desperately being asked for. I had people contact me on a regular basis saying that it's just totally disheartening that they can't even find out when their friends have passed away because there's no local paper. I've had businesses such as real estate agents contact and say it's a fantastic initiative, that he'd been in contact with them, he was talking to them. A great way of getting this community back on a national platform, having a paper and a digital version to be able to sell properties, etc. in this area. I believe that a local paper is an absolute necessity for this region. I believe that this council would get its money back tenfold as far as goodwill. I believe that the community will be grateful for us utilising this money to assist in starting up a paper. I agree that if this has happened because he approached us. He came and said, "I'm willing to put my money up as well to set this up." There's no guarantees. Council is not giving any guarantee of how much funding it will give in future. What information has been given to him is being based on what the previous spend was with the previous paper that was here. And he's doing the figures based on the risk factor there. So I'm very much in support of this council kickstarting a local paper because I know the community want it, and I know that I certainly will be supporting it for those reasons. I don't believe that not having a paper, I think, is just it's crazy for small regional communities, and it's with other communities are suffering as well in the same way. So the opportunity is here for us to assist in getting a local paper back to our community, and I highly support it. So with that, I'll put it to a vote then. All those in favour of this recommendation? Myself. All those against? Councillor McEwen, Councillor Scomelson, Councillor Noley, Councillor Damataro. Motion failed. All right, so we go to 5.9, which is the Port Douglas Sports Complex and Coronation Park Master Plan, final plans. The recommendation is that Council adopts the final Port Douglas Sports Complex and Coronation Park Master Plan, notes the small change in location and approves the site for the proposed disability accessible amenities block at Coronation Park, funded by the Mossman District Show Society. Notes the Chief Executive Officer's letter of support as part of the Show Society's grant application, and delegates authority under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2009 to the Chief Executive Officer to administer all matters associated with the above. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Scomelson. Seconded by Councillor McEwen. Councillor Scomelson, would you like to speak to that?
What I'd like to say is that this is a very detailed report, and there's been a lot of work and money gone into this. And I think staff have to be commended on that, the amount of time that they've used on this. I just hope that I eventually get to see it. That's I'm just like it's huge, and I'm just thinking, well, I hope I get to see it one day. But I suppose in small steps we'll eventually get there. And, but no, I think it's a lot of work that's gone into this, and staff need to be proud of what they've done.
And anyone wish to speak against this? No? Okay, Councillors, Councillors,
All them long to the same. Just a question for Ms. Kerr, and we did discuss earlier, just for the public. All the users of both the establishments are happy with the master plan. They've all gone through it with you, and they're all happy. They're happy with the way it's going to progress.
I suppose a lot of the leases the Mossman Sharks they didn't want the field realigned. We did have some lengthy consultation with the Show Society as well, and now they are happy with the way that it's been but everyone so far is on board.
And I think the Mossman Sharks issue could be probably alleviated a bit with a lot better lighting. I think that's one of the issues. The lighting is not up to scratch as it is now. Once there's better lighting there, that will probably alleviate that issue quite a bit.
And what was suggested to the Mossman Sharks who was opening up the front of the clubhouse to actually allow more viewing sort of area at the front. So and Jason seemed quite happy about that as an option as well. So if they were to take on the lease, is that they would be able to start doing some renovations to the front of the building and actually open up the front of the clubhouse as well, so there'd be more viewing area of the field as well. So, I suppose some of the main changes since we last spoke was there some vegetation areas through around the indoor sports facility here. That's just being retained. And One of the other areas that there's been a change to also was the Cassowary Park, about having that, about the lighting infrastructure being upgraded out of Cassowary as being a focus, because if there was new infrastructure being built out at Port Douglas to accommodate the soccer club, it would be obviously a very expensive way of managing it. Instead, the council would adopt a process in place in upgrading the lighting out of Cassowary Park. So that has actually been a change that's been made within the master plan as well. So that's actually been a new change within the master plan as well since we last spoke.
And it's understood, obviously, that showtime, there's a lot of traffic over the fields and stuff. That's been
At showtime, yes, so the metal gates as well, so that they can use overflow parking as well within the arena. Also along the side of Jack Street there as well, that's actually the car parking as well. But it was suggested as well by the consultants that maybe a drop-off service with parking at school or something like that. So maybe more event management planning for the show areas as well.
so in the, as it stands, that car park where we put the bridge across will still be used until this master plan comes into action. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
It might be quite a few years, I suppose.
Yeah.
No,
Because there are no plans for development of that area as yet, so.
No, not exactly.
Any other comments from councillors? Councillor Nolly?
Thank you. Thanks for this, Ms. Kerr. I just for the interest of the public, I wouldn't mind giving a little bit of brief history about all this. I suppose one of the great things from the amalgamation is that we took grasp of what we can and can't control. And it was very obvious from the beginning of 2014 that our sporting clubs and the facilities were in a little bit of disarray. So I suppose this is a culmination so far of at least 6 years of work of one, trying to fix up leases and make the future accessible for these clubs, trying to bring up to standard sporting facilities and trying to grow future sports and grow the present sports that we have. And so I suppose one of the past councillors, Councillor Carey, is quite responsible for this in some ways. It was his ideas about growing growing the two sports complexes and getting committees happening. And from that, I suppose we came to this, that it became obvious that we needed a really overarching master plan. And so, yeah, this is a combination of a lot of hard work, and I'm glad Ms. Kerr can finally get it there. It will bring in, I think, the future of sport and recreation. I think it's the recreation facilities as well. I find that very important. For me, as a councillor, it's really, really important that these fields are open not only to members of sport and clubs, but, some can go in and throw the frisbee, as I used to use as an example, in the afternoon if they want to on these fields, and I think that's really important. As a ex-soccer player, I do believe that we can get, for example, as one example, big teams here to do their post-season trainings. I do believe that with improved facilities, and we can really grow the future also of professional sports visiting the area. So I'm quite excited about all this, and I'm glad to support this today. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I just believe it's a fantastic effort from everyone. And also on top of Abby's comments, I think the sports tourism could be a big thing in the future with all this as it progresses.
Thank you very much. And yes, certainly a big thank you to you for the work that's gone into this, because it is an incredible document. It's been bantered around. It's fantastic to have a direction that we can go as we move forward now, so we know what's going to actually be put into those areas, and we can start planning accordingly. So with that, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. All right, 5.10, the new lease of Mossman Horse Riding Club Incorporated. The recommendation is the council agrees to surrender the existing lease to Mossman Pony Club Incorporated, offer a trustee lease to Mossman Horse Riding Club Incorporated over lot 378 SR 672, being 60 Finlay Vale Road, Mossman, Queensland 4873, for the term of 9 years from the date of execution with no options, utilising the terms and conditions of the standard terms and conditions document registered under dealing number 717940164, and also the state's mandatory terms document registered under dealings number 71193293. Lease payments to be $150 per annum plus GST with annual CPI increases as per the lease. Trustee leasee to pay all reasonable costs associated with the lodgement of the lease documents with the Titles Office, and delegates authority under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2009 to the Chief Executive Officer to determine and finalise any matters associated with the execution of the trustee lease. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Nolly. Councillor Zamataro. Councillor Nolly, would you like to speak to it?
I'd just like to quickly say that, you know, if this helps grow the horse sports club in the Shire, I'm very happy to support this. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Anyone wish to speak against? Any other further comments? Okay, we'll put it to the vote, and all those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Right, correctly, this will take us on to our closed session, so I need to read out the closed session documents, which is 9.1, Confidential Council Grant Program 2021 Major Grant Stream. This report is considered confidential in accordance with Section 254J3G of the Local Government Regulations 2012, as it contains information relating to negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which public discussion could be likely to be prejudiced in the interest of the local government. 9.2, confidential land resumption and road opening, part of Lot 2 on RP 738987 and Lot 2 on SR 462. This report is considered confidential in accordance with Section 254J3H of the Local Government Regulations 2012, as it contains information relating to negotiations relating to the taking of land of the government, taking of land by the local government under the Acquisition of Land Act 1967. 9.3, confidential freehold land purchase. This report is considered confidential in accordance with Section 254J3G of the Local Government Regulations 2012, as it contains information relating to the negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to be prejudiced in the interest of the local government. If I can please go into closed session. Councillor Zamataro, seconded by Councillor Scomerson. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously to move into closed session.